My name is Nicholle Harris, and I'm the manager of social work at Mirror Image Arts in Denver, Colorado. My name is Nicholle Harris, and I'm the manager of social work at Mirror Image Arts in Denver, Colorado. I do restorative theater and applied theater with youth in prisons, step-down facilities, public schools, after-school programs, and we do social emotional learning through that work. I'm currently building a reintegration program for young adults who spent a lot of their youth entangled in the incarceral system or the carceral system. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I myself grew up in what would have been considered an at-risk neighborhood, and I went to an art school for theater, which really had an impact on my life. The adults, my mentors, my theater teacher, all really made me believe in myself, which is why I really believe in my work.
I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Single mom, West Dallas Projects, and my mother had a passion for the arts and introduced me to everything. Everything. Went up all around the city. Whatever was free, we'd go inside, and really grew. That was very important to her, the arts and how arts can change people's lives.
Yeah.
Is this what you wanted to do growing up?
Yeah, I always wanted to be an actress. It didn't really matter to me whether or not I was famous. I just wanted to be involved in that world, in that work. And so I do feel like I'm doing what I wanted to do growing up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's added, the added layer of the social impact of what the arts can do in terms of changing the world one person at a time.
Yeah, I was really changed or moved, or I had a lot of my aha moments in rehearsal over the actual performances, which really gave me a belief kind of in the process of the art and what it can do for a person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was that first big moment of, this is my path, this is what I need to do?
You know, I feel like the first time I thought of it, I was maybe 5 years old when my mom was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it just kind of stuck. But it might have been when I was Alice in Alice in Wonderland, when I was 12 years old in a community program. And just the excitement of having that role and the fact that I was chosen to do it, but also the friends that I made along the way, the community that I experienced.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know that impact personally, how it changed your life. And now you're in the process of giving it back, passing that on. Mm-hmm. That's very important. And especially in terms of the prison system. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I feel like within that system, very rarely do our youth get a chance to be kids, to experience who they are, where they really are developmentally. There's a lot of adultification in that system, and I get to go in and I get to play with them, and they get to be kids. And then through that process, we're kind of able to use it as a bridge to talk about deeper things that they experienced in the games or in theater, and how it applies to what they go through in life.
Yes. How does that impact their lives?
I think in a lot of ways. When we get them to get up in front of people and they get that response from their peers of laughter and joy, it instills confidence in them. When they get to have different experiences that they didn't expect, where, for example, they might be playing a character that they would normally be in opposition with. And it can create empathy, and we can talk about different relationships and patterns within relationships and provide more tools for how to navigate frustration and different big emotions, where there might be a cycle of, certain ways to handle feeling disrespected versus just having the tools how to have like a conversation and things like that.
Right. Who were your mentors growing up?
My biggest mentor was my theater teacher. He was just so invested in all of us, and I believe he really, really believed in all of us. And he himself, when he went and got his doctorate, he studied with Auguste Boal, who created Theater of the Oppressed. And a lot of the work that we created was devised and very organic. And I connected with classmates that I wouldn't have thought I had anything in common with because of talking about our lives and the way that we created plays and performances from those conversations.
How has life changed since November of 2024 to now?
I feel like just a lot of worry and stress about where we're going.
What are you worried about?
Things going backwards, honestly. I'm on the board at the University of Denver, the DEI board advising the dean on student experience, and we connect with the Shades of Brown Alliance, which is a student group at the school. And there's been a lot of conversation about what language we're allowed to use and whether or not we're going to be allowed to continue, or what loopholes we can use to continue so that the school doesn't lose its funding. It just seems like, I teach youth mental health first aid to adults, how to help youth out when they're in crisis. And they just had to take all of the DEI materials out of our work. And there was a video with a trans youth who was explaining their experience of crisis and how they got through it. And there's different things like that that are being pulled from the material because it's no longer allowed. It's provided by a national council, which has federal funding. In the schools, there's just a lot of anxiety with ICE. I know my niece, her school is 80% Latina, and there's a lot of kids that just aren't going to school.
Right. And in terms of gender?
Well, my niece is trans femme, and we had a lot of fear around her hormones no longer being allowed to be provided for her. My family was having to talk about maybe having to go to Canada every 6 months, or how we were going to be able to provide those hormones for her, especially at a time she's 14 and she's going through puberty, and how disruptive it would be for her to lose her medications. She's now being homeschooled because the gender neutral bathrooms at her school have been taken away, and she's just experiencing a lot more bullying. And so things like that feel a little scarier. I know my sister has fear around letting her leave the house and who she's with, and just for her safety.
Working with youth then, we know that some want to get involved and trying to find ways to get involved. What do you advise them?
I feel like a lot of the information for how to join together is on social media. I know that my niece goes to a center here in Denver every week and just meets with other trans adults and trans youth She's going to a queer prom in a month. And I really feel like being a part of community right now and experiencing community and knowing who your community is really, really important, and is going to be important as we move forward and all figure out how to navigate together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is about navigating together. It does kind of do a reset in terms of bringing people together.
Within Mirror Image Arts, within our programming, we do community get-togethers with our alumni, and we did a soup kitchen event a couple of weeks ago, and just the high that everybody felt that they were on afterwards, just from being together and being in this time where things can feel really scary. It feels really important to experience those moments too. Yeah.
How important is our history?
Extremely important. I feel like not only does it inform why we should do the things we do, and why it's important and what it adds to our society, to continue to move forward. But it also makes you feel connected. You know, I myself, I found out about 10 years ago that my great-grandfather, 6 generations ago, was a slave, that the first battle of the Civil War was fought on. And, well, his land was where the first battle of the Civil War was fought. And I went back there and met hundreds of relatives that I didn't know I had. And at first I wasn't sure if I was in the right place, but my father passed away, and a man came up to me and started telling me stories about how my father was his favorite cousin and them growing up. And so that history also connected me to my family, the descendants of my ancestors.
Yes, beautiful. How did you miss that history?
You know, I think it's just being spread out. People having to survive and migrate, and people don't talk about it. The land itself got given away to the state, and also spread amongst the white ancestors because he was also mixed. And so we didn't know until we did our DNA. And then all of us started doing our DNA to be like, is this right? And all of us connected back to James Robinson was his name. And the history is just incredible. The historians of my family just found mass graves in Virginia of slaves, that some of them belong to my family. We're not actually really sure who the people are, and they've been doing a lot of work trying to figure out who those people are because of the erasure.
Yes, and it's modern technology, isn't it? That's giving us some clues and affirmations. Whereas before, people, if you didn't have the birth certificate, if you didn't have this paper, if you didn't have like that Bible where people would write everybody's names, if all of that's lost, you still have the DNA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And through that, being able to kind of at least trace the family, and then it's through that my history, or that the historians are able to look up obituaries and try to figure out who people are. It's pretty incredible.
And people contacting each other then after getting that DNA test, contacting them on social media or other forums. It's the old and the new, that bridge. And I think it always is, isn't it? We have to have that the roots from the past joining our present youth,
Right.
To help us forge our future.
Yeah. And it's so important because with each generation, there's progress.
Yes.
You know, when
We hope.
We hope, right?
Yes.
I mean, I remember when I was struggling in grad school, and I had this friend, Allie, and we were often the only Black women in our classes. And she used to talk about just us being in that space, what it meant for us to just be there. And I would get really frustrated sometimes with the classes or who it felt like the classes were kind of made for. But then I would think about my grandfather hiding underneath a bridge during the first battle of the Civil War and how he survived. And here I am at this institution getting my graduate degree so that I can go back and help my community.
Yes. That lineage, that legacy passing on through you, you have an effect. Knowing your history and being present and mindful about that is what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I hope that as we move forward too, like I feel like we all have history. And it's important to be able to learn what that history is personally. So many of us still don't know. And so like with modern technology, I also imagine what would it be like in a future where we were all able to learn that history and feel connected to something that was taken from us.
Yes. And prime in that is in the arts, how we tell stories in so many different ways.
Yes, yes. And I feel like even with our youth, them telling their stories, right? We devised a play with some youth in one of our facilities where they talked about their past, present, and what they hope for their future,
Yes.
and where they're at now. And we would always tell them their stories matter. Like
Yes.
I had one guy who would be like, my story doesn't matter because I came from, all these rough places. Who cares about that? And we would always tell him that his story might touch somebody else who's going through the same thing so that they can, be inspired, that they can have a different future than they imagine for themselves. So I really feel like the arts in storytelling in that way, not just in being able to share that story with somebody else that might touch,
Yes.
but to instill the importance of our stories in the youth who may feel like because of their circumstances that they're not that important.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.